All right, should we do this?
Shall we get it?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's get it. Oh, that's already such good
I know.
conversation. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's
I'm
good.
so
It's good to have a
excited.
little warm up.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we are back to another special episode. A very special Boss Bus Between the Cheeks Bananas and Beans Fiasco Extravaganza Ultimate Extreme. With the one, the only man from Lincoln himself, the co-founder of Black Magik. We've got Oceanz, or as we know him, as Derek in the house.
What's up, guys? What's up?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Oh, man.
Thanks for driving up here to come see us.
Of course, it's a rainy night, but you know, fuck it. No guts, no glory, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, it slowed down.
Yeah.
Here.
We're all good. I'm Nebraskan. I know how to drive in the rain.
Yeah.
Yeehaw. Amen. Well, man, how you doing? How you doing tonight?
Good. It's been a stressful week. We were kind of talking, a little bit before all of this, and it's just when you ask someone like now how you're doing, it's such a weird. You used to just be like good, but now it's just we're all feeling a similar pain, which is I think it's interesting because we all now we all have something really in common.
Yeah, something
And,
huge.
Yeah, exactly. And like anything, could be bad, or we could use it for good. In a way. I don't know exactly like what that looks like necessarily, but I think that if we start just at least recognizing that we all have a common issue and that no one has an exact answer for it yet, but if we all just kind of start listening to each other about like how we're dealing with it, not our views on the issue, not maybe even what we should do or anything like that, but just kind of like how we're feeling about everything that's going on, I think that we might get a little bit more to the heart of the issue. Because, some days lately, I'm just fucking sad for no reason.
Yeah.
And, it's depressing. But then some days, it almost seems like the good stuff is more glorified in a way. So, like, those small wins feel bigger now. And it's cool. But, I don't know. Otherwise, things are all right. Making music a bunch and working and doing Black Magik what we can right now.
Yeah. I think that viewpoint and that that mindset of it being something that can all bond us together in a way that really nothing is. I mean, obviously politics not going to bond anybody together.
More divisive.
Yeah,
than
exactly.
anything.
Like any other thing in the world, there's not really one solid thing that every single person has to deal with besides right now with this.
Yeah, I mean, we have like birth and death in common.
Yeah.
But those are like extensions of us almost, like they're a passing moment. But this is like a very visceral, real time thing. We like, what'd you say? We've been dealing with this for like 8 months now?
8 months.
So crazy.
8-month lockdown.
I also think that it's like the connectivity to like all the different like social classes too. That like everybody's in the same kind of danger, no matter what kind of help you have.
Sure.
Like obviously there's percentages higher in the lower income areas, but the fact that if someone with who's immunocompromised that was a millionaire caught it, there are so many like rich famous people that died from this because we just weren't ready for it to come around. So
or even just the effects of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, yes, like anyone who catches a disease is going to feel it, the way that the disease catches you, but like the effects of like the depression, dealing with
or
it
just
right
the
now.
community being like locked away in their homes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I just heard of like some millionaire jumped out of his roof the other day or the other week or I don't know what exactly, but like, and he was a millionaire, right? Like he's supposed to be the happiest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
And he, I don't know the exact specifications of the story, but from what it sounded like, it was due to just being isolated.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up, like, but it's also fucked up to have a pandemic happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, like, I think that we're all dealing with this super conflicted feeling of, okay, I want to live my life, but also I want to be respectful and I don't want to hurt other people and stuff. And almost it seems like this is like a macrocosm of what we deal with on a daily basis, just being humans. Like, affecting people in a way because you had a personal need sometimes might be a negative outcome, but you have to weigh that decision on what you need to do in order to make your life a certain way or whatever. but it's like that golden rule, right? Like, do
Yeah.
unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's such a huge balance of just selfishness versus selflessness, where you can't be too selfish and want to do everything without thinking about people around you, but you also can't give up all of your rights and everything
Yeah.
that keeps you alive
Absolutely.
to, take care of everyone else. Because that's what they teach you from when you're a kid, is that you be kind and you be nice to people, but you don't let anybody walk all over you.
Yeah, right. And it almost seems like such a, like, what is that? A dichotomy, or like, it's like, a catch-22.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like Jesus said, turn the other cheek, but then your dad said if a bully is hitting you, you fight back.
Yep.
And it's like they're both valid,
Yeah.
but also like when do I employ what?
Yep. And it's so situational too, and that's why it becomes so hard, because everybody has different moral standings and viewpoints on everything. So everything, it's such a mudded ground, like where it's such a gray area, because everybody's in such a different spectrum of what is okay and what is not okay as far as me versus you. You know?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And again, like going back to that idea of like common ground or whatever, through that, I think that we are going to see that our differences make us stronger, and what tears us apart is misunderstanding those differences. Because there is no culture out there that lives off of like evilness. Now, I think there's evil in every culture, but no culture thrives off of evil. So why would someone who's just from a different culture than you be evil? They have their own way of doing things, and it's different, then you don't understand it necessarily, and some of it might be maybe like a worse way of doing things, like in some mathematical way or whatever. But at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We want, a nice family. We want to be comfortable. We want love. We want shelter. We want food. We want happiness and whatever. And again, understanding those differences is where we will, it sounds so cliche, but it's true, because we'll begin to understand it. And all I see is like fighting about this shit on Facebook. And like, I got my own opinions. I learned a long time ago it's best to keep them to myself on social media.
Yes, exactly. On social media.
In person, I think you can have a reasonable conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
And I think it's so great that you guys started this podcast, because like, I mean, you guys are doing your thing, just as far as like the music community, but it's almost like a selfless act for you guys to do this, because you're not just saying, hey, here's my song, here's my show, come to this, that I did or whatever. You're inviting someone else to come and speak, and you guys almost take a backseat in it. And I think that that's really cool. We need more of that.
Man, I'm really glad that you say that, because I have a hard time not getting too excited and making sure I let everybody talk and take in the backseat. So
Me too.
I feel that. That means a lot, though, man. We started this just at the beginning of the whole quarantine, because we realized that people wouldn't really get a chance to sit down with the people that they're friends with much.
Yeah.
And like, there's not really a forum, at least in Omaha, for podcasts about DJs and people that you see on stage, but it's like, who really is that guy?
Right.
Like, how are they as people? And then we get to have great conversations with people like you who have inspired us from the start, and we can just have a real connection, and it feels like they can just sit and hang out with us while we do so.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's cool getting to have DJs and like people that are throwing shows and all the other people that we have on, and getting to make more personal, like, having a 3-person, 4-person conversation, as opposed to yelling at each other, having them double say things because we're at a show, the music's so loud, but we all love it, but it's, it's just one of those things where your brain is 60 to 70% invested in the music, because it's that loud.
It's overstimulating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shows are not a great place to conduct business or like friendship, really. Almost
absolutely.
In a way, it's a good place to be. And also I think that that's kind of like what's missing a little bit about why people go to shows, is like, of course we all want to do something, and you have to climb some sort of social ladder no matter what you do. Even if you're a construction worker, you got to have a good personality, and you got to let people know that you're confident enough to take the next steps in whatever you want to do. Some people just come to shows, don't talk to anyone. And honestly, like, if that's your bag, go for it. Be you. You're not hurting anyone. Like, that's totally fine. But there are those of us who our dreams, who wouldn't want to make music all day and get paid for it or whatever, or
Yeah.
plan shows and then that's your only job and you don't have to go work some other job. And we're all trying to find our way through that. But after shows, I'm getting older. And I don't like going to after parties anymore. It's not because I don't like the people. It's just literally because I'm fucking tired after a show,
Especially
dude.
when they go till 2 a.m.
Oh yeah, I know. I was like, I thought this was the party.
Yeah, I'm like, it's cool. Like, sometimes if like we're all having a good time and maybe I haven't drank enough to where I'm feeling like, okay, if I go to this after party and drink, I'm sleeping there.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if I have taken the evening really slow and there wasn't as many people at this show and it kind of started off late and then I just kind of started getting going towards
Depends
the end
on
of the
your
show.
energy.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Mhm.
But like a lot of times, if I'm coming out, the gates as soon as I get at the show, by 2 a.m. I'm good to go to sleep.
It's
Yeah.
only finite, the energy that you have. And
Yep.
I mean, just even on a bigger level, I think that's why you see a lot of people like taking steps back at certain points in their career, whatever you want to call it, especially if we're just talking about the local scene. Like, you see that all the time. Like people are like, I need to take, half a year off or whatever. And excuse me, kombucha makes me burp. But because you just run that marathon. And, again, I've gotten to that point at several times in my life, but I think that was more of a cause of that I just wasn't pacing myself.
Mhm.
It wasn't necessarily that I was doing too many shows
Yeah.
or that I was going to too many shows or I was making too much music. It was all these other external factors in my life that were kind of hindering me from seeing what it was actually all about.
Mm-hmm.
But when, like you said,
like being too busy, kind of like what
Sure,
you're saying. It's like
yeah.
since you're so busy that a lot of the things that are going on around you, you kind of miss because you're doing so much at once that
right.
your focus is stuck there.
Yeah, and again, that's funny because like the word busy is a negative connotation, right?
Yeah.
But busy is how I hustle.
Same.
Right?
Yep.
Who doesn't?
Yep.
Who doesn't hustle busy?
Yeah,
You have to. You
Yep.
can't hustle lazy.
No. That's not a hustle.
Right,
Yeah, it becomes a different thing at that point.
But you got to work with what you have, and if what you have is busy, you got to look at it as a blessing, but you also have to take it in stride, and you got to cut the fat out.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
Just be like, okay, maybe it would be good for me to watch TV in a sense of that I would relax a little bit from what I'm doing, but maybe it would be better for me to go for a walk.
Yeah, because you're still stimulating your body and you're not getting, running your heart rate down, feeling like,
Yeah.
okay, it's going to take me another 20 or 30 minutes after I get up off the couch watching TV to get myself in a mindset to where I can start doing work again.
Yep.
Because TV is not a workspace.
No, it's almost like a soul suck in a way.
Yeah, it's just like drain the anxiety out of
Yeah.
it. Like it just take all and it also takes your energy too, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
It is weird because on Sunday is my chill day.
Mhm.
So like me and my girlfriend, well, fiance. I
Yeah,
guess.
fiance.
I know.
Congratulations.
It's a weird, thank you. Appreciate that. We chill on Sundays all day, but we both are super tired on Sundays,
Yep.
But also you gotta have a little candy every now and then.
When I feel like your body it's good for your body too after keep maintaining that healthy hustle. Like if you're going 6 days out of the week, like one day out of the week to let your body relax and just not be in that mode has you so much more fresh to go all 6 days the next week.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But even The Rock, who's the most ripped human being on earth, he has cheat days.
Yeah.
So you'll see him he's got 12 pack of donuts and shit, and it's
Yeah.
you need a little bit of that every now and then.
It keeps you encouraged to do what you're doing. 'Cause
Dude,
if
that's
you just
so
cut
true.
everything out, then what is your payoff at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Gains are great, but if you're literally staring at things that you've loved since you were a kid and you can't touch them because it's your rule, you're taking a happiness away from yourself.
Yeah.
So there's balance in that where you can still have things you like but not overconsume, which is
a lot of people's problem.
That's a normal American thing.
No, you're right. Yeah, we were born into consumption.
Yeah. It's the capitalist way. You just buy and then buy more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that importance of not burning yourself out is super vital. I mean, at least personally, I'm also the same way. I like being busy. To me, it feels good. I hate going a day without feeling like I accomplished at least something.
One thing.
Well, one thing.
Right.
That's all I need.
Even if it's clean the kitchen. Or
Exactly.
some shit
It's
that. Right.
I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting my degree this December. I've got stockbroker full time, like music, podcast, all of that, and then like time to breathe and eat food.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it can get intense, but like you have to put yourself first and like then go to the things that you like to do. Like make sure you're taken care of, but also that the things you want to do are taken care of. Like having that accountability and also taking inventory of what you can mentally handle at the time is super important to not burning yourself out.
Yeah, it's a learned process too,
Yeah.
because you don't know it. You know, even like when like, you know, your 21st birthday, what do? Get fucked up.
Yeah.
But
100%.
you learn after a while that you're like, well, I can't do that all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's not so good. I mean, some people you got to learn the really fucking hard way.
Yeah.
But like it takes time, but
Mhm.
just like with anything, like you said, being busy or whatever, not burning out, you learn your mojo and you're like, well, maybe I don't need to take a whole day off. You know, maybe I need to just take the morning off tomorrow and then I'll do something. Or you find, you know, like with music, I like working on music in the morning the most. You know, that's when I used to think it was like night or whatever. So like before I quit drinking and doing drugs, it would be like, all right, I'm going to start a song at 9. I'm going to get super fucking high before. I'm going to like even get really, really drunk or whatever. And then I'd wake up and I'd feel conflicted about what I was doing. So then, even then, like after a while, I was like, okay, I need to like wake up early in the morning like it's a 9-to-5 job and, you know, maybe not get so high or whatever and then go into it. Now, some people like swear by getting fucked up before they make music. And I see it. You can make some cool art out of it. But for me, I like to have a clear mind.
Yeah. It makes, well, especially while I've been like watching some videos on production and stuff, and I had to go back and just watch FL videos to just understand the software.
Sure.
And
it's complicated.
Yeah, I would say people talk about like, you know, you hear the old time thing where it's like, oh, the DJs just press buttons and stuff. But like, if you've ever like seen a producer sit down and make music and seen like the playlist after they're putting everything on, no one would ever say that. Like,
no,
it's not a real thing.
It's almost like, you know, and this has been said before, but if you're a DJ or you know, and especially a producer, but even if you are just playing other people's music, you are the conductor of the orchestra that night.
Yeah.
No one has ever said that
Those
the conductor...
are not easy to use.
No, they're not. But no one's ever said that the conductor before an orchestra didn't do shit because he doesn't have a violin in his hand or whatever or anything like that.
True.
He is making the fucking music happen. Even if he didn't write it, he took the time to study it, to know it, so he can cue in everything perfectly, make sure everything's tied together. And what happens first? Who gets the most applause? He does.
Yeah.
Because he or she, they took the time to really prepare before, not just learn one part. He learned all the parts.
Yeah.
And that's what a DJ does.
Yeah.
But people go, oh, just press some buttons.
Let's say,
you do it.
DJing, like, well, you get to mixing, like, that is not, like cueing things and knowing when to, how to blend everything properly. Yeah. That is a whole art in itself.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And that was something where I was like, okay, maybe this will be easier if I try to learn this instead of, like, waiting to fully pick up producing. And I tried, and I was like, I don't think my brain's going to make the full connections unless I actually start from, like, knowing where this is coming from.
Like making music,
you
mean?
Yeah. Just, like, understanding how it's all put together, even if I don't put out a bunch of songs myself, but just being able to put the song together myself and then working it over to mixing everything together will really, I feel like it would just put me on that next level to where I can actually, you know, not take so long to do things.
I wish more people thought like that because I think it's true, you know, like even if you don't put out your music, if you know at least like you said, where it's coming from or whatever, I mean, hell, your style will develop.
Yep, exactly.
Because you'll just go like, oh, like even trying to conceptualize doing what they're doing in this track, it sounds a lot harder than what they're doing in this track. And so maybe I'll play this track because it just sounds more interesting because I can think about what's going on in it a little bit more, and rather than just picking like an easy, catchy track.
Yeah, like being more comfortable with like music itself, basically, instead of just being like, okay, I'm gonna learn the software and the board and like how to put things together properly, like kind of putting a puzzle together. But I'm like, okay, I want to know the puzzle of the puzzle.
Sure,
you know,
who are the puzzle makers?
Yes. Exactly,
precisely.
Yeah, like my girlfriend, she has super great taste in music, but sometimes we differ, of course, or whatever. And like, she calls some of the stuff I listen to like producer wet dream. And it's like, and when she says that, I don't think she doesn't like it, but I think she almost hears it as more of like a crazy for craziness sake.
Yeah.
And I sometimes make music like that because I'm like, how fucking crazy can I get?
Yeah.
And again, is you take a chance with that because it's not catchy, it's not ABC, but some people will connect with parts of that, you know. And sometimes I've gone too crazy in songs, you know. I've like made a track. I'm like, this is the most insane thing I ever play. It, no one likes it.
Yeah.
And like, there's a middle road with it though.
I love that you said that too, just based off the fact that some songs I play, like I like a good example, Ulasile. As he's
Oldesile? What is it?
As Ulasile,
OOLACILE.
Thank you.
I think,
Oldesile.
but he's on a Disciple.
Yeah, he came with the Disciple when they played at the Bourbon, and he was someone I would already listen to a lot. But the way he makes his sounds, they're a lot on top of each other, and it sounds. If you didn't listen really closely, it sounds kind of messy.
Sure.
But after you hear all the layers of everything, and you can hear all of the sounds like communicating together, my brain is. I'm literally just sitting there shaking my head like, oh my god, he's a madman.
Yeah.
He's a madman. He's crazy.
Which is cool because like it's weird because I go back and forth too with like that where I'm like, you know, like to me almost like Freddie Todd, right?
Yes.
Like his shit's so fucking insane that it's like you get lost in it sometimes, and especially if you're a producer because you're thinking about how the fuck did he do all that. But almost like as equally of a gift is simplicity. So it's like that 3-chord song that became a fucking hit. Why did it become a hit? Because it was simple but beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's like, I don't know. I think sometimes I try to do one for one. Every time I'm making music, I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to go crazy. This time I'm going to see how like simple but like hot I can make it.
See, and that's why I love both. Like I love them both for different reasons. One makes me, like if it's a more simplistic, I just trying to vibe. Like it's something I can just like, it's catchy. I just can get down to it. But if I want to overload my brain, like I want to just like try to run my brain into the ground. Like sometimes that extra stimulation is really nice.
Sometimes you want to put it into fucking 5th gear.
Yeah,
you know?
like especially when you can do it like sitting in your house, you just throw on some headphones and you're just like, all right, like my brain is moving at 1,000 miles an hour now.
Yeah, I think like genres are dead almost. You know,
they are.
like,
There's such a blend between all of them that it's not
crazy.
just cookie cutter into one.
Well, and that's why I always like when people ask me sometimes they're like, because almost every show I play, someone comes up to me and says like, I'm getting into DJing, and it's like I'm like, cool. I'm like, but the last thing that you should be doing is talking to me about it. You should just be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, oh no, I am. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And I'm like, you don't need any validation from me or whatever. But if they press me on it and they ask me what's like a piece of advice, the only thing I ever say is like, don't box yourself in. Because people go like, I want to be a rhythm DJ. I want to be a house DJ. I want to be this. And again, there are dudes who are doing that, and that's what they do. I throw no shade on it. But for me, coming from my perspective, because that's kind of all I know, I would never just want to be one thing. And what happens when your genre dies? You know, like, so like we've seen the waves of shit. Like there's been so many genres that were the top thing, and now no one fucking even knows about them anymore. And they were maybe even just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, true.
So like, you just want to be you. Originality. Like I was watching Ray last night.
Okay.
And I identified with that because for the very beginning of his career, they were like, you sound like, this guy. You sound like, Nat King Cole. You sound like whatever. And he felt like he could imitate everyone, but he couldn't be himself. And then his like soon-to-be wife or whatever was like, well, if you can imitate anyone, then you should be able to imitate yourself. That's what made him really pop off, was that his signature style was just a blend of styles, but no one had blended those styles before. So even doing something as simple as that, and rather than just saying, I make dubstep or I make trap or whatever, going, well, why don't I make a house song that's also dubstep or whatever? Some, it's
like
just some
bass
shit.
House, or like there's so many different combinations of
but
music.
Do your own thing with it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so true what you said about the genres kind of just blending together right now, and that the genres themselves are not just a boxed in, this is what this is now. Like so many people are making different songs that are between all of the different genres.
And those are the best people in my opinion.
They are.
in my opinion.
Well, it's unique, and they're stepping out of the normal comfort zone of one of those genres to do what they want to do.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, I want you to vibe with this. I think you might like it.
Yeah, and then people do, every now and then, and sometimes it takes a while too. Because the other thing too is if you're not mixing, like literally, like you make a song and then you mix it, you don't have much reference to go off of. So you can know what the sub bass is supposed to be hitting at in a like a drum and bass track, but with this new style that kind of doesn't sound like anything, it's hard to find someone that sounds like you. So sometimes it takes a little while, and it's like it might be sloppy at first, and I think I ran into that problem early. Like I have no qualms saying that like I'm definitely influenced by a lot of people, but I've always tried to do my own thing, and that's why I mostly play all original sets, because even if someone thinks my music is shit, at least they'll know it was my music.
Yeah.
And they won't question it. It won't even be like, if I just play even one other person's track in a set, they might think that all of the other tracks were other people's. And again, sometimes I DJ, but 90% of the time, I just try to do my own music. One, it forces me to keep making music. And two, it really just, I don't want to hang in anyone else's stratosphere. I want to build my own. So even if it takes longer, it's going to be my own. It might be smaller, might be not as big of a cut of the pie. I might not get as many shows or whatever, but people will know me as me and not just some type or whatever.
Yeah, they'll know you as your artist self, not just a DJ or producer.
Yep.
You're an artist.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're all trying to transcend, because it's not about music, and it's not about the person behind the music. It's not about the lights. It's not about the drugs. It's not about the people you're there with even necessarily. It's literally about the experience, because the experience encompasses all of that. You ask someone.
And everybody has different experitions doing that.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I just cut you off.
No, you did. I was talking too much.
No. That's literally all I was gonna say was just that, like that the word that you just used, to connect everything together like that, it really shines different for different people. So like I know people like where when I go to a certain show, I'm not focused on who I'm going to see there. Like I'm glad to go with
That's
people,
cool.
but I'm there. I'm excited to see these artists. Like I'm going to be as much on the dance floor as
whether
I can.
You're there alone or
I will go by myself.
Nice.
If there there was an artist that I want to see, and I know a lot of friends that will be like, okay, I don't really know any of these artists. I don't like any of these artists even, like, but I know all these people that are going, and that's why I'm going. And you can see where it hits for everybody differently, but accumulatively aiming at the same point, like you said.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why, like, oh man, it's so hard.
That was the word you
Experience, used. Yes. It's hard to talk about anything without sounding like a hater.
Yeah.
But, like, without trying to sound like a hater, there are a reason why certain shows sell out the bourbon and why some people fill up half of it or don't even get the chance to play the bourbon. There's a lot of factors into it, like where they've been, like whose, label they were on or whatever. But the ones that fill up the bourbon, because we're in a college town, are generally because of the college.
True.
And why do all the college kids go to the same shows?
Because they hear about it from the same place.
Well, yeah, it's like what you said. Their friends are going.
Yeah.
And who knows why they're friends or whatever, but it's probably because they had some mainstream success or whatever. Mm-hmm. You go, I know what EDM is. I know possibly that there is a local underground scene and all these local artists that I ever could come support, but I'm not really about that. I'm just going to come for the big shit and see all my friends.
I'm going to go see Borgor and get fucking wild on some Jaeger.
And I opened for Borgor, and it was a fucking awesome time, and he was actually super nice, like really nice guy. Good for him. I mean, I wish that I could just sell out, like places like that or whatever. But yeah, why Borgor? Because he had some kind of mainstream success, and it's nothing against him, but I kind of like, just as a culture, like kind of wanting to preserve something about the EDM scene. I want it to do well, but I kind of also don't want like people who aren't actually about it to be a part of it. And that might sound fucked up.
No, but like I don't think that's even gatekeeping. Like they should want to be a part of the community if they're going to attend the community's events.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and also just like straight up, like as a DJ, you are not going to get booked if you don't go out to shows. You don't have to go to every show. You don't even have to go to most of the shows. You got to go to some fucking shows to show that you support, because otherwise what? Like, I'm going to book you because your music's dope? Like, that doesn't,
There's
everyone's
a lot
music's
of people.
dope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
So many good artists in town. So
you got to make connections.
Mhm.
You got to show up, and it is about the support.
Mhm.
Like, I've literally been a part of conversations before, I'm not naming names,
Mhm.
but where it comes down to this person showed up more just in the past,
Mhm.
And sometimes I get tired and I don't go. There a lot of times is that feeling in me that might be that one time that I fucking should have gone, but
yeah, we have this conversation all the
yeah.
time. Yep.
It's hard. It's
It
hard
is.
because sometimes you do just want to chill,
Mhm.
and there's no, like, I don't think there's any death knell about any of it. You can always kind of like work your way back up,
Mhm.
but every swing not swung is, you're not gonna hit the ball. Yeah, no, but I mean, yeah, being a DJ, you should show up to shows, especially
so.
if you want to get booked.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this isn't New York City, and honestly, it might work like that there too. Because I was in Chicago for a while, and it definitely worked like that there.
Yeah.
It's almost more like that.
Yeah, and I would imagine the bigger the city is, with the more talent and like that are people trying to gain like traction in the community, like you'd have to try 10 times as hard because there's 10 times more people trying.
Yeah.
Like just because there's more people in New York,
Absolutely, and I think that is one of the things that, like, if you look at everything, and I think about this shit all the time, and it sounds cliche, but like everything is energy, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about that earlier, even on like a measurable scale of like I'm tired or whatever. But if you take it bigger and you literally combine more energy of more people in a smaller space, you're going to get more kinetic energy with all of that, and therefore everyone's collective energy is going to combine more. And so in a sense, it's not just because you have more people and there's just more likely to be talent. I think it's literally like an exponential effect.
Oh.
So where it's like, it's not just like, yes, there are more talented people. It's like, no, they're like almost more talented than talented people are somewhere else. And it's not a rule that, the exception doesn't define the rule. So there are talented people in the middle of nowhere, for certain. But one thing that I would like to see Lincoln and Omaha and just all of Nebraska and just the Midwest in general is to kind of get on that train of like pushing each other. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we started Black Magik, like almost unknowingly in a way, like, because I had my first EP, well, and I put that out just because I was like, no one knows who the fuck I am. I better have some music on SoundCloud. But my second EP, I started becoming really good friends with Caleb Darkwood, and I was like, I want to put this out, and I wanted to send it to labels and all this shit. And one of my other friends was like, you should just put it out on your own, and then that way you'll really know like what your organic reach is. So then I was like, well, maybe I should make my own label. And then, there's a couple other good acts around here or whatever. I could work with them or whatever. I brought that, and Caleb was obviously the first person that came to my mind. I talked to him, and he was like, it was literally one of those moments. He's like, dude, I've literally been thinking that shit. Like, and he had the name Black Magik and the logo already on his fucking phone. And I was like, whoa, you really were thinking about this shit, dude. I was like, okay.
Deep in thought.
Yeah, exactly. And so then we, like, at first, like, because he came up with the name, I was like, I'm hesitant to claim other things of people and shit. And like, who knows? He may never have brought up the idea if I hadn't first, Like, I mean, Caleb's a pretty, go get him guy, so he probably would have. But at first I was like hesitant to claim Black Magik, and but then it was like, no, we both are the owners of this, we both, and now it's on paper and all that shit or whatever. But it just became that way organically.
Yeah.
But to get back to, anyway, we've pushed each other so much through this, and it's like, there's friendly competition in it. I won't lie. Sometimes I hear a track of his and I'm like, fuck, like, I want to make a good track now too. And who knows, it might go through his brain too. And now we've got more people on the label. We got, the hippies from $1
Million Hippies.
Yes, from Des Moines.
I love them.
Yeah, I fucking love them too. And then Noisy Boy from South Dakota and shit. And then, but I want to get Lincoln on that vibe of like let's be the best, you know,
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
it's not just good enough. Nothing's good enough,
Mhm.
you know, and
Always
it's
be
like,
striving for
yeah.
improvements.
And I think that people get comfortable because, like, I'm getting gigs. I know I've gotten comfortable before. Like, I don't know if besides a show that I like booked myself to play or whatever for like an EP release show, which I think that's the only time I've really ever done that.
Mm-hmm.
But I get asked to play shows a lot. But something that happens in my brain is every now and then I think, what if that stops? And then I'm like, well, I know that I am tenacious enough to start booking my own shows, so whatever. But the fear of why that would ever stop
Mm-hmm.
really keeps pushing me forward. And you don't ever want to take a step back. And if you do, if you ever have taken a step back, you know how much harder it is to put the foot forward again.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's like you take a rut as you move backward more.
exactly. But having the Black Magik family is, even if sometimes maybe I'm not taking a step back, but I stop walking,
Mm-hmm.
we're all still in the covered wagon together. So,
Mhm.
like, you know, like, hey, my feet are kind of tired from walking outside. I'm like, well, there's room in here. I'll walk now or whatever. And I'll fucking, you know, push it forward. And we do that for each other. And I'm excited to see some other people kind of starting to throw shows and stuff. Like, we've never wanted to be territorial about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Kimchi, that's really cool that they're doing that. And honestly, just something like this. You guys, you set up your own. You're the first DJs that I know of to really start a consistent podcast and stick with it. And that's your flag in the territory. Because, like, honestly, anyone else doing that now, they'd have to tip their hats to you. I would think, you know. So
We appreciate that.
That
Yeah.
means a lot, man.
no, it's cool, dude.
I anything that I want to do, whether it be music, whether it be podcasts, whether it be work in general, like I want it to not only be consistent, but I want to be proud of it. Like
Yeah.
I if I put something out there, I want to be like, yeah, my name's on that. I did that, and I'm happy about it. Like I did not want ever, not only because of my anxiety, but like I don't ever want to have a late upload. I don't want to have a week off. Like I want to make sure everything, even if I can sometimes burn it at both ends and be a little more exhausted than I should, like it's so worth it to me in the end.
Hell yeah, dude.
Like,
yeah.
that-
And I think that, like, people with talent are often their biggest critic, because talent to me isn't how well you can do something, but how honest you can be with yourself about where you're at. So you don't have to, like, I always think of like Jack White, like, and I come from, like, you know, like rock bands and shit, and like that's where I started with a lot of this stuff with music in general. You could put him next to some, who knows, 13-year-old virtuoso is like shredding the guitar in insane ways that you never even thought was possible. You could say, well, this kid is technically a better guitarist, but what constitutes better? Jack White has sold out arenas and shit, not because he can play every single note super fast or whatever, play Moonlight Sonata on the guitar. It's because he fucking rips it. He puts his heart and soul into every little bit of it, and it's truly original. And I think that that's all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be the best. You have to be the best you.
Mm-hmm.
And people will recognize that no matter what.
I think that you just said it so well. I think that's so important. And the real recognizes real in that sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like stage presence, not just for like, you know, bands and stuff like, but for
Mhm.
you guys too, like, yes, the music is pushing a lot of the energy at the show, but if you guys were just standing still, like mixing everything, not doing
It's
anything,
boring.
everybody else would feel that from you,
Yes.
looking at you, because everybody's looking at you. So
Yes.
they see you stagnant, so they start getting stagnant.
Yeah.
So like everybody who like all the DJs that I have seen in town that like have been most successful,
Mhm.
they have this energy when they get up on stage where they don't stop moving, like where you can feel them, and it like I can almost bounce with them as like, you know, feel their energy from like across the room,
Dude.
which
Yeah, completely.
is huge.
And you'll notice that actually a lot of times carries over to when they're off stage.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're not going to be like, woo, what's up, guys, all
Yeah.
the time. But,
Yeah.
like, just who they are as a person is kind of a little bit more outgoing
Yeah.
and shit.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I've seen some dudes, like, kind of on the rise and on stage, they're like, whatever. And then also back in the green room, they're even more like, and it's just kind of like,
yeah.
I don't feel like I can know you.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I get down to your music?
Right, where
True.
it's like everybody, all the other people back in the green room are worked up, ready to go on stage, and they see you at this level, and they're like, I don't want to reach down there before I perform, or like at this show,
Yeah.
because most people don't feel comfortable stepping that far out of the energy of the show when they're there,
Right.
because that's what they, love to go feel.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see talented people and how they, enter like that and then build their, their stage presence, like as
Mhm.
they're getting, more
Yeah.
comfortable just being in front of people, because making music and then actually performing it is like a whole different thing.
It's completely different, and you'll find out truly how good you are the second you drop your own tracks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
Very true.
because especially once if you are just DJing, I always say that, and I don't fucking
Mhm.
mean it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
DJing.
exactly.
But if you are DJing, and you then for the first time throw your track in the middle of a set next to all these perfectly mixed and mastered songs, you're gonna know how fucking good it sounds. And
Immediately.
and usually it doesn't sound that good. Not for a while. It takes a long time. This shit doesn't happen instantly.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh,
part of
yeah.
the enjoyment of it.
Exactly.
You know?
That learning and slowly getting better at that too, and noticing that within yourself as well.
Yeah, you have to, because man, I've also I've known some people too where they're like, "I fucking killed it," and I'm like, "Did you?" You know,
Did you
like
kill
I don't know, you know, like, but most of the most of most of my friends, most of the people I know in this scene, like, especially the ones that are playing a lot, it's like they're pretty real people. You know,
Mhm.
like they get it, and
Definitely
actually a
agree with
lot of
that.
them are self conscious. I'm self conscious too.
Mhm.
You know,
Same.
like sometimes I'm like, oh, I fucking sucked,
would
and
say-
it's just like people are like, no, you killed it.
Majority of our DJs are somewhat self-conscious, just
Yeah.
based off the fact that our scene can be so hit or miss. So either our scene's just popping off, doing great, or
Yeah.
sometimes we have like very roller coastery
Yeah.
in Nebraska,
Mhm.
and to see everybody on stage, like it's like everybody's building this a new way to fight their anxiety and like the way that they're feeling, because it's like, if I can get up on stage and perform this music and see that everybody is enjoying the things that I'm doing and spending my time on, like I feel like that's just a whole nother anxiety that's taken away.
It's therapy, dude.
Yeah,
It is.
It's therapy for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also heroin.
Yeah.
You're chasing a dragon for sure.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, a lot of people, because I think about this too, is that a lot of people, I think of myself and I think of, oh my God, like I could be so much more well known. I could have so many more plays on my songs. I could be selling so many more tickets or whatever. But if you compare yourself to not even, all of the population, just all the people in your age group, 90% of them haven't even done that once. And so that's a feeling that you have to kind of like, it is relative in a way. So it's like the fact that you got up there and did it and you choose to keep doing it, that's mission accomplished in and of itself.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
That's so true, and I feel like it's so easy to get in a mental trap of you comparing yourselves to the other people that are doing the same thing as you but are far larger or just
Yeah.
having more reach. But it's like you're still making music. You're still performing at places like the Reverb, Waiting Room, like Royal Grove, anything like that. Like you're doing things that people wish they could do
And
just
there
in life.
are a ton of people in the crowd who have that hope and dream, and some of them kick it in the ass and go do it too,
Mhm.
But for some people, it stays a dream. But I want to just give that to everybody, just to say, like, if you want to do it, that doesn't mean that you just think you want to do it. It means that you go do it. But everyone has that possibility,
Mm-hmm.
for
And
sure.
I think D. Reed, when he was on here, he put it really well. He said that this scene, at least the like tight knit Omaha and Lincoln scene, like we support one another to do exactly that. Like even a little over a year ago today, I had never DJ'd besides a house party like 3 years ago.
That's crazy. You started like a year ago?
Yep.
Wow.
Our
dude.
first show was the last night of the warehouse for the old OSU warehouse, and we closed out the
I
night.
heard about those days.
Yeah. We were the last people to ever play in there, and we had like a 2-hour set, and it was packed, and we barely had enough songs to even play 2 hours.
Sure.
Like, but
Okay.
yeah, we've only been, or at least I now, since it's just me and the squad now.
Sure.
But I started last
Boss
year.
Boo.
Yep, I'm the single, the boss boo. I started last year, and I didn't even start making music until January, and then middle of January we put out Silverback.
Hell
and
yeah.
then
Yeah.
just been cranking it.
That's awesome, dude.
But
Fuck yeah.
that drive, the only reason I had that drive is because of all of the other people in the scene that were wanting something better and bigger for the scene and wanting to support the people who were in the audience and had that dream. So like every time anybody ever, I'm so encouraging to people putting out their music, to people playing shows, to people having the belief in themselves, because that belief was given to me and by other people.
You have to give it back.
Yeah.
There's no way that you can't, because then the shit stops.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, but that's what I love about the rave community in general, is that give, but knowing that you're going to be getting back. Like, you don't even have to think about, if you're with the right people, you give to your people and you will get back without even having to like think or say anything about it.
It's true.
And it just constant cycle.
Yeah.
And that's why literally when I got here, I was like, I can't, I'm not going where I can't get out.
Yeah.
Like, this is the most, like, where I feel so productive. Like, whereas like me knowing that I'm going to put something into someone and they're going to just like waste it immediately.
Sure.
That's very frustrating. It makes me not want to give any of my energy to anyone.
No, people stop doing that for people when they just take.
Yeah. And that's I've experienced a lot of that in my life, to come from somewhere where I'm just giving way too much to people all the time, and then to come in this place where I'm so hesitant to give because of things that have happened, and then doing it in small notes, and then people giving me more, knowing what, like, you know, where I'm at, and just kind of picking me up so I can like stand on my own 2 feet again.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, now I need to know how to do this. Like, teach me so I can do this for other people, because this is the coolest thing that I've, you know, been a part of.
That's beautiful. I think that for me, the easiest way to do that and deal with it, because it can be a lot too. Mm-hmm. Like, again, I am no one, but the people who do know me I am someone to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about Oceanz or whatever. Like, I'm talking about me as a human being. And Oceanz is an extension of that. It's a different side of it. But the people who do know me, I want them to know that they can count on me. And I also want them to know that I have my boundaries and whatever. But if you take it to that idea of like where someone is coming up to you and saying, hey man, I'm starting to think about DJing, you can't lie to them and say like, go for it, buddy, you're going to be great. But you also can't be like, there's already enough fucking DJs, you know? Like, I think you kind of have to give it to them real, that is real. Because sometimes people who give the most expect the most.
Very true.
And that people get themselves in a rut where they're like, oh my God, I met this new friend. We've been friends for 6 months. They gave me this, they gave me that, and then all of a sudden you didn't do one thing for them, and then they're like, they blow up at you or whatever. And I don't want to give anyone that unrealistic expectation. So like, someone comes up to me, talks about this shit, I'll just be like, well, what you need to do is I said this earlier, but you need to stop talking to me about it and then go do it. And then from there, then once you have something or whatever, you'd be like, hey, I bought this board. What do I do when this is going on? I'd be like, that's actually interesting. I don't have that board, but my friend has that board and he'd love it. And then you're no longer talking about it. Yep. So you have to be realistic with people and just be like, don't talk about it, be about it.
Right, yeah, because you could talk about something so much that you burn months of time. Like, you could sit and just go through months and months, and how much progress could you have made if you had started doing what you were talking about doing 2 months ago?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that my favorite thing, honestly, no matter how small it is talking about a plan with someone that's slightly in the future and then having it come to fruition.
Yes.
Because then it's like, it shows you like magic is real.
Yes.
Even this podcast, you know, like we booked a date, but anything could have happened. You know what I mean? Who knows? Like, you guys might have called me and been like, Derek, we don't want you on the show anymore, or whatever, or like, hey, we're tired, or whatever, some shit like. Now I know you guys wouldn't do that, but that shit happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've all been a part of those conversations, like, yes, bro, we're totally gonna start that company, or whatever, and then it just never fucking happens.
Yeah.
But when you actually do, and when those plans get bigger, like especially planning like a really big show, like we should book this person, and it starts with the conversation, just that energy of those words, and then maybe it goes to paper, maybe it goes in the digital realm, maybe you start reaching out to more people, and then all of a sudden on that day you're standing and they played the last note of their set, that person you fucking booked, and there's a big crowd there or whatever, you made all those people happy. That shows you that you can literally change the world with just the thoughts in your mind. Yeah. And that's the most satisfying thing ever.
And I hold myself I use that to keep myself accountable for almost everything that I do, where I will speak something into the universe, because after I speak it out loud and I have my people that I know will hold me accountable hear it out loud, it lights that fire under me to be like, I've said this now.
Oh,
I have
said
to do
it.
it.
Now
I
I gotta
have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, I try carefully to take things that I want to get done, and I will speak them out loud to my friends or my people, so they know. They'd be like, hey, bro, have you done any of that? Or hey, like, is that something that you've actually been doing? Or they can see me doing it and be like, cool. Like,
yeah.
I will keep you in check with that.
Yeah.
But you do the same for me.
That's a good friend though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's what, again, like, where we met and we knew each other in high school and we didn't really hang out or anything, but then we met each other again through the EDM scene, and once we had that thing in common, we've been really good friends for the past 3 years now. Yeah.
That's dope. Almost like it was like made to be.
Yeah, like
in a way.
Yeah, it was like that where they have that theory that like if someone you're destined to meet, there's like a red string tied between you and them, and like the string can never be broken. So if you're meant to meet them, the string can loosen and tighten, but it actually can't break.
That's
so
cool.
Like the people that gravitate towards you will always be around you, no matter how far or close they are to you.
That's dope.
So I really thought that was an interesting philosophy.
I dig that. Yeah. That's awesome. Do you guys do vision boards ever?
No, but I want to.
I've been wanting to. Yeah,
I need to get a whiteboard.
Whiteboard is an awesome idea. I have one of those, and I need to add to it now at this point. But like, I did that back in Chicago, and with some people that I was making music with, and like, I used to think a lot of this shit was like silly, you know, like mystical or whatever. And it's like, some of it can't be proven, but some of it fucking is real. Not in a concrete way.
Yeah.
But the idea of like so in AA, I don't go to AA anymore. I have nothing against it, but it did help me. But you have to have a higher power. Mm-hmm. And it used to be a Christian thing, you know, now. But I think that, like, as we've kind of evolved, and again, I have nothing against any religion, and I was raised Christian too, and and there's parts of it I still believe.
Yes.
But the idea that you are relinquishing your ego is incredibly important, and that is definitely what Christianity is about, and I'm fairly certain it's what a lot of religions are about.
Especially Eastern religions. I've done a lot of studies on Taoism, Buddhism.
Yeah, Buddhism for sure.
Confucianism, like all of them are very like, well, they use balance as their term, but it all comes back around to being able to do things, but not letting things, you know, sit you down or take you too far in one direction. Like it's all like, you know, proverbs and, you know, poems basically.
Sure.
The way
they say something.
Yeah, I always get the same message out of almost every religion book that I read, but it's because I'm not looking at it for what it's telling me, but I'm looking at like, what is the whole idea of what this is doing?
Exactly. Like you know, you could like any of, like you said, the Psalms or whatever. Like it's a message. Yes. Some people truly believe that there was an ark and whatever. And again, I can't disprove it, but what I can prove is that there's a message behind the story.
Yes. Reading between the lines when you're reading something, you know.
Yeah, and I think that, again, going back to like the higher power thing, there's power in saying that you're powerless and admitting it, because we get like rats in a cage when we think that we can't control something, and there's no way to fight it because there are a lot of things that you just cannot control.
Yeah,
and once you start saying like, okay, I can't control this, it gives you power to recognize the things that are actually in your control.
Very true.
It usually has something to do with yourself and never other people.
Because that's a very true thing like that you're saying, because I've found myself and many times getting so caught up in trying to change something that I have no business trying to put my hand, like, you know, right. This is nothing that is within my control.
Yeah, like, let me fix this for you, or whatever.
Like, or it's something that then you just catch yourself running in circles trying to do something that's none of your business to fix in the first place. And then you forget, like, okay, at that point you're doing this constantly, you're not fixing anything. Then you think you can't do anything. Yeah. You know, because you've spent so much time beating a dead horse with a stick. Yeah. That it's literally you don't get any progress. So like seeing where you can and can't, like you said, do something gives you time to appreciate what, you know, was it within your grasp at that time? Because you can always work for something that's out of your grasp now, but you're not going to get to that by sitting and running away from the things that need to get done right now. You know?
And like what may seem logical to you, it's not that it doesn't seem illogical to the other person. It seems impossible. Yeah. And because, yes, I could follow like your logic to fix this thing, but I simply don't have the will or the strength to do it like that. And like all I need right now is your energy sitting here listening to me talking about it, and in a lot of cases that will help fix the problem rather than trying to solve it for someone else. So if I'm sitting there and someone's talking about their problem or whatever, my instant reaction is to be like, okay, you should do this. And then they're like, well, this and that. And I'm like, okay, but you said this and that, but you're just making excuses now or whatever. Whenever I just sit and listen and I truly mean it, and I'm like, that sounds tough. Tell me more about that or whatever. Like, why do you feel that way? They'll work through it themselves. We're really smart, beings, and we have the power to do it, but it has to come from within you.
Yep.
You can't make someone, a certain way. You can't make someone sober. You can't make someone nicer or anything like that. All you can do is give your energy as an example of it, and maybe they'll follow it.
And I like that analogy you're using too, because giving someone and the tools to fix their own problems as opposed to trying to fix them for them.
Yeah.
Because you might have experienced it, you might have done it all before yourself. You might have the best answer in the whole world.
Sure.
But if they can't come to that conclusion on their own, that it's not gonna, because not everybody articulates things in the same way.
Most people don't.
Yeah. So for you to go to someone with the exact finite way that you fix something and expect that to work for them is 99% of the time not going to be the case.
No, definitely not.
So like you said, being intuitive like that and listening to someone and knowing where they're coming from and then using their thoughts to, turn it in that direction that they need to.
Yeah. And again, you I like what you said, because you use their thoughts to turn it in that direction, but you don't know where they're going to go with it necessarily. You're just there for the ride.
And that's why listening is so important, because everything you say, it could completely change the dynamic of the next thing you're going to say. Because you could be thinking that you're telling them one thing, and then they take it the complete opposite way. So you have to completely change every word that you've said, even though you might be saying the same message.
That's crazy, dude. That's a really good way of explaining that, man. That's awesome.
That's so true, though. Just being a person to foster the growth of someone else rather than forcing them to do something is so much more powerful. Not only is it so much better for your own mental and not taking on necessarily all of the burdens of someone else.
So true, dude.
Because that's important, but also it's going to organically fundamentally shift with their mindset. If they work through it themselves, they'll have the full experience of having to deal with that and cope with it and do whatever they need to change it, rather than just getting an instant getting out of jail free card. I'm going to fix this for you.
Yep. And then you didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I think it comes from that same idea of a lot of times, and again, it's not every time. It's so hard to not sound like a hater, but a lot of times people who are born with everything laid at their feet are not always the coolest people to be around, because they don't fucking get it. And they never had to do anything themselves, and they always feel like there's a lifeline there. They don't even know could not be a lifeline there at some point. And so sometimes they turn out shittier. Again, not everyone. Some people are born blessed with that, but I think that there are people who even have means and they pass them on to their children, but they make sure to instill those values inside of them. Be like, no, you're not getting everything you want. I don't care that you know how much money I have in the bank or whatever, anything like that. But that's the problem with everything right now, is that everyone feels entitled to something, whether it's an emotion from someone else or to agree with them or whatever. And again, we were talking about social media. No one listens on social media. Everyone talks on social media. And you are shouting, and you will never change someone's mind by arguing with someone. And again, I've come close, you know what I mean? I've especially in the past, I've just definitely full on argued with people. But since this kind of change within myself about this idea, I've come kind of close to arguing with people. But that idea always sits right in my head where I'm like, this isn't going to help. This is only going to hurt. I need to feel you in front of me if we're actually going to change that. And it almost seems like it's some goddamn plan that's where we seem to spend most of our time on, and that's how we mostly communicate now. And look, no one's happy.
Yep. It honestly makes me really sad, because I use social media as a release. So when I get on social media, I'm posting either spiritual things,
Sure.
like different like meditative.
That's positive though.
Yeah. And,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like that's why I like doing that is because not a lot of people do that right now.
No, it's crazy,
So I'll
dude.
sit and I'll just go crazy and post
Mhm.
everything that I see that I have any kind of relation to, and then a lot of times I'll post just straight memes. Like I go there to see funny things and
Sure,
laugh, and
yeah.
I mean everybody has their own reasons to get on there, but it does make it harder for me with everybody being so upfront and aggressive right now, where
Yeah.
it buries all of the funny things that I'm trying to get to with like
Yeah.
just really aggressive, angry, like. And I honestly find really interesting opinions through this sometimes, but
Sure.
a lot of times it's just like, wow, like, is this how, like, especially reading comments, you're like, is this how this many people feel about this topic? Where it's just like, man, I'm gonna have to, like, take a seat off of my Facebook for a couple hours.
It's almost
now.
like it's not that the fact that anyone can post their opinions at any time. It's like the comments are like the bad idea about it all.
Yeah.
Like, anyone should be able to speak whatever they want, but like, it's not that they should or shouldn't be able to, but should you comment on that post?
Yeah.
Think about this. If someone says something truly fucked up, something like, whatever, like just something awful, abhorrent, if a million people write on there and they're like, fuck you, you're an asshole, I fucking hate you, or you suck, or you're this, or I'm going to call your job and fire you, and whatever, and all this shit, then they are going to get more emboldened in their idea. Because it's not that I have negative energy coming towards me, it's I have any energy at all.
Attention.
If that post literally set at 0 views, 0 likes, 0 shares, 0 comments, they would stop.
Yeah,
Because-
99% of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
True.
And then again, even if they didn't, no one would be fucking listening to them anyway.
Right.
But you just embolden those people like that.
And also, Facebook algorithm works in a way where if there's a million comments on this, all of a sudden everybody on Facebook is going to see it now.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
It's so tough.
it is tough. And I truly believe in the right to free speech.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anyone who doesn't,
Right.
but there is a shift happening right now where they're saying like, well, if you say something bad, then that's like yelling fire in a crowded theater. And I get that, I completely get that. And I just don't ever really want to hurt anyone's feelings anyway.
yeah.
And there are people
Same.
out there in the world who truly do. So I don't think this is a one-sided issue. It's very nuanced, but we have to know how people truly feel in order to get to what is truly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if everyone feels silenced all of the time, then maybe good ideas won't get out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of really good ideas were controversial in the
Yeah.
very beginning of it. Like it used to be if you said like, I want freedom of religion, well, we're going to hang you.
Yeah.
And that was seen as bad. And again, I'm not comparing to like truly awful things that people say or whatever, but just even something that's considered kind of against the grain. It's like, well, hey, even if they are wrong or whatever, like, I want to hear what you have to say because
Yeah.
I want to poke a hole in why it is wrong. Not even to you, for me.
Yeah, so it's like, even though my opinion is completely differing from yours, like seeing your opinion that's on the opposite side of mine helps me refine and make my opinion better because
Yeah.
I can see the things that people who, are rebuttaling me, in my
Mhm.
opinion, and I can see where they're at in their heads, the people that truly are on the opposite side as me.
Yeah.
So it helps me be able to defend and solidify my opinion more
Sure.
strongly.
Or you might like change your
it, yeah.
opinion,
Like, tweak it, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which no one wants to do,
No.
Yeah.
No, but in like the pursuit of knowledge, it's necessary. You
It is.
must do it.
We are losing that right
Yeah,
now.
it's so
Agreed.
sad.
It's
It drives
really,
me
it's really
so
sad.
crazy.
It drives me insane.
When the
Oh.
urge and when the ease is there to be so combative
Yeah.
in a digital space, like there's no fostering for growth for all the individuals involved. It's like, oh, you said this, you're a horrible piece of shit, let's cancel you.
Yeah.
Also, you're done,
Yeah.
you're stupid, bye.
Yeah.
It's like fire being fought with more fire. So it's like everybody's getting these negative reactions to negativity and thinking that it's going to cancel it out. Like
right.
no negativity has ever been stopped by a bunch more negativity. That's
No.
not how that works.
No, definitely not. Because then it becomes hard to distinguish true evil from a sin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's like if you committed a sin, it's a sin. And I'm not talking about in the Christian sense. I'm talking about like maybe just what we all feel morally
Yeah.
as humans.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you commit a sin and you can atone for a sin.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the same as an action that is truly harmful or whatever. And people think ideas are harmful. Not if they have the right ideas to also see it, and you can't know what the right ideas are if you also don't see the wrong ideas about it. Yep. And so we conflate, you made a fucked up joke or whatever with you were a violent human being who showed no remorse for it or whatever. And it's like all becoming this kind of like homogenous thing. And we really need to distinguish that in our own minds and not what other people are going to think of you for what you defend or anything like that. Because that's where people get scared. Because actually most people I talk to are extremely nuanced. They're like, yeah, this person said that, or like specifically in the scene a lot, this DJ said that. And yeah, he got canceled and it kind of sucks, but I'm not going to say anything about it. And I'm like, I don't either. You know what I mean? And it's like I feel taken over by the tide of it. But I would love to have this shift in our minds where it's like maybe we can talk about it. And maybe what that person said, maybe they can atone for it and then be welcomed back with loving arms, because that will actually teach them something. Because now, even if you do just say something that's kind of wrong and you change your opinions and you apologize, people still want your head.
Yeah,
you're done, and when did that ever happen? Like,
right?
I thought we could atone for our sins.
Yeah. So your apology wasn't good enough. Go, you lose.
Yep.
Like, even though you're apologizing, it doesn't count.
It's like,
and that's
who hasn't said something that was wrong. Well, it's not just God examining you anymore. It's everybody else.
Yep.
And there's some, again, I'll admit there's some things I don't like about that, and I disagree with some of it. But also, in a way, I have to admit that it's kept people in check.
Yeah, it's kept people accountable.
We have to check our checking.
Absolutely.
In a sense, you know what I mean? Like everything needs to be checked. If you are a checker, you need to be checked.
Yeah.
In how you're checking or whatever, anything like that.
It's like the checks and balances that we have in our government, where it's like people who are checking them, they should have a system.
Clearly, those work great.
Yeah. And I just
well done to America.
And hopefully I'm just speaking on our checks and balances.
But the idea of it.
The concept of like having multiple things set up so it's not just one person that has all the ultimate check power.
Right. Absolutely. And it just comes down to us, because especially with this COVID shit, like I've had to like once again like give up like the dream in my mind, and it doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop doing it at all, but it means that I have to adjust how I feel about it and my expectations of it. So if I don't come out of this in the way that I had always hoped and dreamed as far as music is, I have to be okay with the journey up to that point.
Absolutely.
So maybe I won't end up in that mansion because of my music or whatever. Hopefully I will, but maybe I won't. And what do I have to do with my journey to be okay with if that I never get there? And that has a lot to do with who I was along the way and every interaction that I had with people, but also what I did with my music and how it affected other people. So maybe for the rest of my life, I'll be playing 100, person venues or whatever, and, just breaking even on shows or whatever, something like that. But if I made every single one of those count, I don't know how I couldn't be an old man and look back and not just be like, that was pretty fucking dope.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like you guys were talking about how, not to compare yourselves as much to the other people around you, because you guys are all on that same level of doing the same thing there, and remembering that, like, even though we do have a lot of artists in town, comparatively to how many people are in Nebraska, like, you guys are, needles in the haystack. Like, there's only a handful of you guys comparatively to all of everybody else who's doing their own things. And not saying that everybody else doing their own things and having their own jobs or their own successes are any less, but you guys' successes being so unique is special in its own way.
Yeah, and I think everyone has that like specialness about it. Like, again, like when I met you guys, like I just loved your vibe, and like I think I booked you before I'd ever heard you DJ, and like I booked you guys for the flow down.
Yeah, that was so
and
fun.
and I remember I can't remember who it was, but one of
Mhm.
my buddies was like, "Are they dope?" And I was like, "Well, they're dope dudes." And they're like, "Have you never heard of DJ?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "But I know they're gonna fucking kill it." And he was like,
I
"All
love
right." And then you guys fucking killed it. You know, like sometimes you can gauge shit right. And honestly, if I'd been wrong, so what? You know, like if even if you guys like came with your great personalities and shit, and like let's say you train wrecked the entire thing or whatever, I knew that your vibe was so great that it still would have been a good time. You know, but you guys killed it, so that was a bonus on top of it.
At that point, I could see you guys just busting down and playing a track and singing. Like,
You know, you have done that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Awesome.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. And that show too, I was terrified because that was the first time we ever touched CDJs.
Oh right,
So,
right.
like, I
okay,
remember that.
yeah. But you
That
guys
was
killed
great.
it.
Yeah, that means a lot, man.
Yeah,
I was
of
sitting there,
course.
the like, I never come off a stage thinking, oh, I did great. I've never once thought that. My one thought is, okay, did I accidentally turn something off? Did I kill the bass? Like, what can I do next time to
Sure.
not do that?
Yeah.
And I didn't turn a CDJ off.
Yeah,
So I didn't press the sync
Which
button either.
I have.
Yeah.
I've literally pulled out someone's flash drive while they were playing because I thought it was the other flash drive. I mean, I've done that countless times.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to look at music as the individual moments aren't so serious, but how you conduct yourself is serious.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean you have to be a serious person, just means you have to be serious about yourself. So be like, I might be the funny guy, you know, cracking everybody up in the green room or whatever, but I got my shit together, and that matters a lot. Plus, I try to be a good person. And I think if you just have that, the world's your oyster.
I agree. I think that's so important.
It's probably very uncanny if you ask me that, like, if you keep positivity around you and you're looking only at positive things as you do things and keep yourself productive, only good things are going to come to you. You know, the law of attraction,
Yes.
where
yeah.
if you know what you
Vision
put out,
board.
that's
We need one. We need to make
You
vision
guys,
boards.
I'm gonna do it. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you guys doing it?
Yeah, we'll do
By
it.
the end of this month, we will all have vision boards.
And
bet.
All right, cool.
I'm super down.
Sweet.
And also, we're
we
gonna
have
get a
swipe it
whiteboard.
into the universe.
Yes, we
So
have.
we have.
Yes. Awesome.
Also, we need to get a whiteboard because that'll be
Whiteboard,
great,
that's easy.
just for planning.
Mhm.
And on speaking things into
Should
existence.
get a boss bus calendar too, just for like shows.
Oh,
and
I think
stuff.
that'd be cute. We could be like in speedos and shit.
Firemen.
Yeah,
No,
firemen.
I mean, we could do that too. I just meant like having a calendar that we would
Oh,
have for boss
like
bus,
a boss bus calendar.
Yeah, so we'd know what events we're doing
Not
for our shows, and then what
Mhm.
events we're going to.
But your calendar should be you guys.
Yeah, it should
Yeah,
also.
well,
yeah, fine.
Has to be.
Yeah, all right. Well,
And maybe one of them's like a dog.
yes.
Just 1 month.
That'd be cute. That'd be
Yeah.
cute. In regard to, I wanted to bring this up a bit ago, but in regard to speaking things into existence, I am terrified of ever saying, and my anxiety would rip me into shreds if I ever said something that I was going to do and didn't do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
At least
Yeah.
for the past few years.
Yeah.
Like, if I ever say I'm going to release a track on this day or during this time, there's never going to be a single time where I don't do that. It would just kill me
Yeah.
internally. Like, that to me, just, I just can't do that.
Well, it's so cool to be able to do that and make that connection of your actions and the effect it has on your environment, not just the people, but the things that you choose to do or not do. So that whole process of me saying it out loud and maybe not knowing the first time I did it, but seeing the effects every time I say something and it doesn't get done,
Mhm.
but then seeing the difference and the difference in how I feel when I say something and it gets completed, and not only how I feel about myself, but the environmental difference of everybody, how they're looking at me, how nice my things are looking because I'm staying
Sure.
on top of everything. Like you feel everything kind of putting itself together when you start,
Mhm.
keeping yourself accountable on that.
Yeah.
I think that's so true. The accountability is what really drives me. And on that too, like I said, a few weeks ago, I said I was going to be releasing a song in November. So we've got a song coming out called Ghost Bear toward the end of November, which is going to be sick. You might hear it a little later tonight.
Awesome.
But in November, also, there is a EP coming out by both Zarkalor and by this guy as well. They both have their own EPs.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that for a second, man.
Okay.
I want to talk about you.
Yeah.
What's the EP?
So it's called Waves, and I kind of, when I started Oceanz, I never wanted to do like things where I was like, I'm gonna have a song called Fish or whatever. Like it's a little on the nose. But this actually came not from. It works because of Oceanz, obviously, and it's kind of the first thing I've done like that. But it came from a couple different things. But I sort of had this reset in my mind when I sat down to make music, where I didn't want to come into it with an idea. And it's really easy to make tracks with a plan. And you will get tracks done, but you have boxed yourself in all of a sudden. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I've done that so much that I wanted to see what it would be like if I came in with no plan. So the toughest way I could put myself through that was to kind of go back to the couple analog synths that I have, and that is like, you can't load a preset in those. You can't, it takes work because you've got to record the audio. You can't change it really once it's done or whatever. You start with a basic wave shape. You start patching things together, and it kind of comes from scratch. And so I watched this video by Andrew Huang where he was talking about how, it's like everything is essentially a sine wave. And a note in and of itself, if I play an A on guitar, an A is actually composed of other notes oscillating around it. And, it maybe sounds like duh, but when you actually like think about that one thing is not itself, it's actually other things, then I started thinking about how like that worked its way into my music and the process of it. And so I was just like, okay, I'm just kind of writing a sound wave, a wave shape right now. And I used most of the sound designing with those analog synths, at least for like the kind of top sounds and bass sounds here and there. But so it kind of came out trappy, it kind of came out blippy, it kind of came out, like I hopefully psychedelic. There's a little bit of hip hop in it and shit.
Nice.
But it was truly the first thing that I felt was like the least influenced thing I've done in a long time, at least. But yeah, but I'm a procrastinator. I said I'm gonna put out an EP, and I like booked a show, and I set a date for myself before having any of the music. But I have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna dig through. I have a million songs on my computer, and I could put out a million EPs, but they weren't made together to be an EP. And I had to set that date in order to go, this is when the EP comes out, better make it.
Yep. I like that.
Holding yourself accountable.
That drive.
Yep, absolutely, man.
That's so important.
Yeah.
The EP is fantastic, by the way. I can't give it enough credit. There's a few songs. It's so good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I would say your sound design and also how clean you mix and master what you do is great.
Thank you.
Like that's
Thanks, dude.
It's super. I can tell that it's you. I can tell that it's fully you putting yourself in there, like you were talking about with Jack White. Like, you're putting your heart into it, and I can tell that it's all organically coming from your brain and what you want to make, which is so cool. I think that's so important.
That's honestly the highest compliment that you can like get, I think, as an artist. And so if you felt that way, that's dope. I think I felt that way making it. So
I would have to agree with that most definitely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Honestly, the thing that I like hearing the most now is like hearing that it's mixed well. Because it's like
super clean.
A lot of people can make a good song, you know what I mean? But that next step is truly the mixing and mastering. And like, I've done this for a very long time. I've engineered bands. I've been a live engineer for a long time. Mixing your own music, it takes something out of you, because you can mix someone else's music and hear everything that's wrong in it, but while you're making your own music, it's hard to tell what's wrong and what's right sometimes. So it's a struggle, and as all of us are bedroom producers or whatever, I think that's the hill that we have to get over. I really have COVID to thank, I feel like, with like how far I've come in that kind of process. And it's the nerdiest part, and it's the part that probably the least amount of people will care about on this podcast. But honestly, like, I took such time and care, not with it, but with learning it, especially over COVID, that I again, always can get better at it. Hopefully I will get better at it. But that was like one of the few things in the last while that I even looked at it and I was like, I think I got better at that. But
Yeah.
it just takes time. Anyone can do it. I thought I could never mix and master my own music. I was always like, I'm gonna have to send that to someone else.
Same.
And then I think everyone feels that way. But work hard enough, just like fucking anything, man. You can do it.
Be okay with making mistakes too, because that's how you'll learn.
Yeah.
Like Silverback, the first track we put out, cool concept, cool song, mixed like a garbage dumpster fire. We played it at a house party, just kind of debuting it. And
You'll know
were
your songs aren't mixed well when you play on the worst speakers.
Yeah.
If you play on giant fucking speakers, I mean, you could burp into a microphone. It'll probably sound pretty good.
Whoa.
Yeah, but if you play on shit speakers, you'll know how good your song is.
Yeah.
Truly.
There are people. The importance is having people there to support you too.
Yeah.
And like realizing you're not alone.
True, man.
Like,
because like you could make music in on a beach with no one around, and like maybe you like are a castaway and you're like, okay, I'll just make music for me. That would be the saddest fucking thing in the world. You need at least someone else there. I compare especially being a DJ a lot of times to stand-up comedy, because you can be in a band and play music and people will stand there, they might holler, they might applaud or whatever, but there's not as much interaction as there is with a DJ, because you are there to make people dance. And so a comedian is there to make people laugh. And you're doing your job as a comedian if people are laughing. You're doing your job as a DJ if people are dancing. And if people are not, you truly feel that visceral reaction of being like, what can I do better?
Yeah,
exactly.
When I first got to, I called it crowd control. Like where the DJ had good crowd control, you could see him interacting and like him being in tune with his audience at all times,
even if they don't speak on the mic.
Yeah,
just knowing what tracks to curate for the night
and literally just knowing their area, knowing what went well last time. Like even like I'm sure they'll shuffle songs in and out, where they'll play a couple songs and based off reactions of the crowd that they probably fine-tune their playlist even at a certain point.
I've toured enough to where I definitely feel like I know certain cities, and usually it's more of like these people are heavier, these people are weirder.
Gotcha.
Something
it's just
like
a general
that.
vibe. It's not anything specific. Like they're just this genre. It's like they have this consensus vibe where like I go there and I feel all of them. Like
and again, it can be wrong, but sometimes you get to know cities like that. Like if you play them enough, you're like, I mean, Nebraska definitely kind of has a vibe. Like and it almost sounds silly to say that, because like people think our culture is like cows. Yeah, exactly. Right.
And even though we don't grow that much corn here, it's mostly a wheat and
I know it's crazy, but even Nebraskans think it's corn.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's like
so true.
But like we're not. Like we have a scene here, we have a vibe, and you can pick that out. And I honestly, again, like all I ever wanted to do with Black Magik was just to put a spotlight on this place, because damn it, man, some of the best tracks that I'm hearing on SoundCloud are someone with less than 1,000 followers, and they're from Wisconsin. But that's fucking dope, because now almost sometimes I see people are from LA on SoundCloud, and I'm like, because they have a shitload of followers usually, and I'm like, I kind of overlook it sometimes because I don't necessarily think that their talent is what got them followers. But when someone's from the middle of fucking nowhere and they have some traction going, and then I listen to their music and it's hot, that gives me so much hope.
Yeah, especially being from a place where we do have big cities in Nebraska, like not comparatively to our big cities, but comparatively to some of the other states that we are surrounding us. We have Omaha and Lincoln.
We have an arena
huge.
In Lincoln.
Yeah.
I never thought that would happen when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
It's real.
And they throw shows there now.
They throw real shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's crazy.
Such a good show there.
Yeah, it was, man. But talent can come from anywhere, and I think people shit on the Midwest a lot just for whatever. But no, even though I was just talking about how some cities have a vibe, no one anywhere is like everyone.
Yes, very true.
It's impossible.
You can have a relatively similar vibe, but your vibe is your own.
Yep, absolutely. And I think we just need to foster that. And that is one cool thing about the internet. And it's kind of why I moved back here. Like I moved back here temporarily from Chicago. I moved to Chicago to do music because, especially when I moved, which was right after college, I was like, it was really tough to be a Nebraska musician. Not saying that there wasn't a good scene here or a good community or good support or there weren't bands doing things, but the internet just wasn't as hot.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, you have to move to New York. You have to move to LA. And even when I moved to Chicago, people were like, it's not big enough. And then I lived there for a while and I moved back here temporarily just to kind of, you know, change the pace for a second, get my life in order. And I was like, it had been almost a decade and I was like, oh my God, like shit has changed here. Like the internet has allowed us to feel real. Like, because it's not just in Nebraska. If someone did blow up from Nebraska, the whole world could hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we wouldn't just be nowhere anymore.
Yeah. I wasn't as into the EDM at all 10 years ago. So to think like, what kind of music platforms were there for like online DJs to release things? Because I know now there's so many.
It was still SoundCloud. It was more of like SoundCloud versus Bandcamp.
Okay.
And Bandcamp, I thought was gonna win because it was cleaner and you could like buy the tracks like directly there from the artist and shit. But what I overlooked was that SoundCloud allows you to directly interact with your fans right there easily. Bandcamp has some features like that, but SoundCloud is based around that, and that's why I have a Spotify account, but I've still yet to upload any music on it because it could get me to a wider audience and shit, but I'd almost rather have all of my views be at one place that I can control. My thinking on that has changed a little bit here or there, and I'm gonna open it up a little bit. But, you know, I don't know. Fuck that shit where it's like they're like, we kind of own you just because you uploaded your music to our site. And you're like, nah, fuck you.
Yeah,
you know, I want to be able to talk and see exactly who's listening to my music, be able to have them contact me and all of that shit.
Yep.
There's a beauty in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I feel like there's a huge beauty in being a musician with that, is that you're making your own music. Though your career is so much within your control at that point, and that's why I know you see a lot of artists not wanting to get with bigger labels or do like reaching out to these things because they lose all of their creative control in the situation. Yeah. And I feel like that's what most artists become artists for, is creative control.
Absolutely. True. And then to become more successful, you end up giving it up. And it's like, we got to find a way to not do that.
Yeah. You know? And that really does start with the local community and like everybody pushing each other and us gaining our traction. So we don't have to be just, you know, the local, you know.
I have people come up to me and they're like, I can't find your music on Spotify. And again, that's dumb. I should have my music on Spotify. But like, they're like, I can't find your music on Spotify. I'm like, well, I'm on SoundCloud. And they're like, I don't have SoundCloud. I'm like, well, download it. Like
it's free.
You don't have these other things too. You know what I mean? Like maybe you don't have iTunes on your phone, but what, you know, like, I'm like, if you really want to find me, you can find me. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, and SoundCloud's a small app. It does not take up much space on your
phone. But it doesn't. But what's dope about SoundCloud is that I truly think that the best artists are on SoundCloud right now.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. A lot of my like daily playlists and stuff like that, where they'll take the music that I listen to and they'll throw, you know, a couple big artists, some big songs in there, but then you get like a handful of just like
random
like
shit.
1,000 view songs that are just like,
you're
like,
oh
my wait, like this is like I've never even heard this name before. And you go and you're like, okay. You know, not that many tracks, but all of them are good. You're like, wow, I found somebody that I would like to follow and make sure that I see when they release more music now.
Yep, and I've seen people blow up from it. Like I've followed people who like I just listened to one song and I'm like, God damn. And then all of a sudden a year later, they're playing fucking Wakan or whatever, some shit, you know? And it's just like, I have to believe that that's real.
Yeah,
in a way, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and that's what everybody's striving for. So to see like, you know, to see someone where they're at, like even if they like, you know, they have extra traction, they have extra money they're putting into it, whatever, but seeing where like, you know, they're starting at and seeing that it's possible to be on SoundCloud and just go from, you know, a SoundCloud artist to, okay, now I'm playing at major festivals. Yeah. You know,
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speak it and it will be.
Amen. Amen, boys. Well, honestly, it's been fantastic.
Dude, hell yeah.
It's been such good conversations, and thank you again for coming from Lincoln to here.
No, I've been waiting to do this, honestly.
We're
seriously.
flattered, honestly.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I wanted to wait until we got the new mic to have you on, because
New mic.
Yep.
Right
new
here.
Mic. You will hear it in high definition. But thank you again, man. Make sure check out his EP on November 14th.
Yes, actually, I might release it the
13th?
day before.
Yep,
we'll see
November.
how I feel.
Ooh. Perfect. Well, make sure, keep an eye out. Thank you.
SoundCloud.
Shout out
That's
to
right.
Black Magik and Caleb as well. What you guys are doing for the scene is so inspirational, and it pushes us all to work harder.
Thank
so
you.
I love that.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
Seeing people that we know, like where before you guys were doing this, you guys were still doing things, but like not having your whole, label set up. Like seeing people that I, was leveled with at that point, and
Yeah.
then like be able to start something and do something and make something out of it themselves is very inspirational. To being like, okay, I could do this. Like you're saying, like where I see people around me that I feel close to, that like I relate to when I'm talking to.
That means
so-
the world, dude.
No, and
Thank you.
it
so
means the
much.
world to us too. So.
Yeah,
does.
of course.
It
And
really does.
honestly, the new people coming up, because I wouldn't even say you guys are new at this point now, because you guys, like you said, you've been doing it for a minute, and you guys are keeping on it, and that's fucking dope. But the biggest thing that I think we can do is to keep it going,
Mhm.
and that's going to mean new people coming in here, and that's going to mean new ideas, fresh stuff, or whatever.
Mhm.
There's always more room at the top. Always.
There is. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I can't wait to see how things develop and what this scene looks like in 10 years.
Oh, so very excited
Same.
myself.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Same. Well, thank you guys all for watching this. Definitely, right after this, there's going to be a link in the description to the EP whenever it does come out. So if you watch it sometime this weekend, when it's out, there will be a link. So go check that out.
Get it.
And
Yeah.
thank you guys for watching. It means the world to us.
Yep,
and
thank
we
you guys.
hope you have a great night.
Thank you guys. Boss Bus.
Yeah.